Hello everyone, I'm Brian, welcome back, let's go and continue.
Out the fundamentals of your own existence. This is why it is very, very important that I'm not starting a political party.
So, Sadhguru, I learned from my mentor architect that architectural interventions should not be just about minimizing ecological disturbance, but it must be instead about enhancing the very life that resides in a structure. So, as an architecture student, I would like to know if design has the ability to heal and improve the quality of the life of the people occupying a structure.
So, real quick, I kind of watch a lot of, was it like, I'm gonna throw out some shows out there, which I truly love. You can watch them, give them a shot, might be worth it. I love a show called Flip or Flop. Although I like it because it talks about how to design something that appeals to the masses and where design and spending money counts in your house. Also um some building like Property Brothers. They go in people's houses and they renovate the place to kind of help them see what the potential in their place in their house. And yes, and it goes back to what he's trying to say: improve quality of life. People occupying a structure. Yes, like having their houses around here. The older ones have like closed concept where everything's kind of like in a box. The kitchen's in a box, the dining room's in a box, the living room's in a box. Everything's kind of in a box. Now people are wanting more open concept. To have that open concept can change your outlook in life. It's the placebo effect, but it's very real. So if you feel happier because of the openness of your house, you will be more resistant to getting sick because you're happier. So yes, I do believe that having a a very beautiful structure can help you have a better quality of life. That is, of course, if it affects people. For me, functionality more so than beauty.
See, if you look at the physical world, whether it's your body or a blade of grass or the planet or whatever, the physical universe is all about geometry, isn't it? Just to give you an example, this about 3 years ago maybe, and I'm walking through the yoga center, which is… people generally think it's very well, its architecture is unique and different. So I'm walking through for various details, looking at it. Then I see, in a place where lots of people come every day, there is a tree branch which was in a certain… this thing. So I looked at this and I said, please cut this tree branch. I did not explain to them, I just said, cut it, and I went on. Then the next day I was leaving the country and I was not there for about a month and a half. Then after 2 or 3 weeks, they wrote a very apologetic note to me, saying that, Sadhguru, you asked us to cut the tree branch, but we thought, why would Sadhguru want to cut a tree branch? When always I'm talking about, you are not going to cut anything which is not absolutely necessary. We didn't cut it, but the rain and winds came and it fell down. Fortunately, there were no people. If there were people, things would have happened, you know. We're very sorry, we don't know why you asked us to cut. See, how long something stands or how well something functions physically is only a question of geometry. I'm saying even your body. How you sit will determine how long the different parts of your body will last. How you stand, how you walk. Today, for runners and others, do you know this posture correction has become a huge science? They got machines. They got all scanning machines which will tell you if you stand like this, how your vertebrae are, how your ribs are, how you… if you do like this, where is your stomach, where is your liver, all this, because if you run the wrong way, you will damage yourself. This has come into sports in a big way now, but yoga is always about this. The whole system of yoga is about aligning your geometry with a larger cosmic geometry so that you can function with least amount of friction. If we say, there are mechanical engineers, aren't there? If you say a machine is well engineered, essentially you're saying its geometry is well aligned. A misaligned geometry means lots of friction, isn't it? So this goes for your body, this goes for every shape and form, everything that is functional in the universe has to be geometrically in sync, otherwise it'll cause disturbance. So does the geometry of a building make a difference? Absolutely. Especially if you're a little sensitive, it will make a huge difference. For everybody it makes a difference. Most people don't understand, don't notice anything about themselves. They only understand the consequence. They only understand, I'm not feeling good. They don't know why they're not feeling good. People don't notice that. But the very shapes and forms that you have around you has a certain impact because you are also a physical form. And how this physical form is, how this is, how that is, all this has a certain geometric impact. If you… I'm sure many of you have felt this, especially the girls probably would feel it more. If they walk into a building, oh, I don't like this, just like that. You know, it's always when men and women, husband and wife go to buy a house, the husband sees all the brochures and says, this is good, and it's priced well, it's fantastic. She walks in and says, I don't like it. Why? I don't like it, that's all.
And kind of funny story. Again, I watched like Property Brothers and all that, which they go. The latest one I watched, I forgot what it's called, but essentially is that they have to sell their house, but they can't get the amount of money they want for it because it's kind of like run down a little bit or doesn't look as good. So the Property Brothers are twins. One of them renovates, the other one goes look for houses. So funny enough, anyways, one renovates, and then the other, the wife and husband goes out and look for houses. And what he's saying here is very much true. The guys are usually talking practical stuff, where the women like, I don't like the feeling of this place. I'm like, what? He's like, the price is right, it's the right location, we're close by, we can afford this, we won't be struggling. The wife is like, doesn't feel right. And obviously can't explain why. Like, what does that even mean? All of a sudden, whenever the price is like 15,000 over budget, like, this feels amazing. Not all the time, but I do notice that. Like, some of the guys do the same things. Like, I don't like the way this place feels. Not very many, but relative to women does it a lot. But you know, I have a feeling it's just because it doesn't look as good, maybe. And if they paint it up and they dress it up nicely, like repaint the surface a brighter color or something like that, they'll be like, "Oh, this is really nice." But what can you do? It's really weird.
Because she doesn't feel good. That's all she knows. She doesn't know why she doesn't feel good. She doesn't know what is the shape which is causing this, but she knows this doesn't feel good.
Very true, but like, oh my god, so, yeah.
So, the shapes and forms have a significant impact on you if we paid enough attention. So you must look at this. You're from South. Well, you come from Kerala. You must look at the South Indian temples, how geometrically perfect they are. You take your laser measuring instruments today and check it, it's perfect, you know. How important that the right angles are right, in this building it's not right. And how the shapes and forms make a difference is something that they examine to the minutest possible thing when they built the ancient temples, particularly in the South. The North Indian temples are all brick temples, they're done in a certain way, it looks like they've all been put up in a hurry, you know. Now, why I'm saying this is, I think The northern belt took a lot of invasions and ancient temples were destroyed, they all put it up in a hurry. When they could, they just put it up. But in south, they took time and engineered it in a certain way, you can feel it, you don't have to believe anything, you just go and sit there, you feel a certain… that space has a certain impact on you. Our home should be built like this, our offices should be built like this. Because it's very important that… see, we know this for plants and animals and everything, the atmosphere in which they live is very important, the habitat, otherwise they won't thrive, isn't it? The same goes for the human being. If you just want to somehow live and die, you can live anywhere. But if you want to thrive, really, then it's important what kind of spaces you live in. There is a whole science to this, which is generally called as agama. People think it's temple building science. It's not about temple building. It was to be built… every human habitation was to be built that way. Whole lot of people couldn't afford it for their house, they did it only for the temple because it takes more involvement and care for this. So this is the reason, this is one of the reasons why you Kerala people, no matter what, first thing in the morning, you shower, you go… See, you must understand, only in the south this instruction is still there, in the north it's gone. In south, even today this instruction is there, if you go to the temple, you don't have to pray, you don't have to appeal to some god, you just have to sit there for some time. Have they told you? You must sit there. But what people are doing today is they're just touching their bottom to the floor and going away. That's not the idea. The space has been built with such care, you must sit there and experience this and allow your system to make use of it, because this is a geometry too. The entire system of yoga is just this. The Hatha Yoga is all about correcting your geometry constantly, that if you walk through the world, you will walk through it effortlessly. If your geometry is not right, then you will see every point you will get tangled up. So, architecture in India is right now, except a few, the new architecture that's been done, unfortunately we have a serious mental enslavement. Whatever is done in the Western countries, we're doing it not considering our weather, the temperatures and everything simply. Even our clothing is like that, largely. If you go out of IIT, probably most of you will be wearing a suit, a jacket and a noose around your neck in 40 degrees temperature. How to wear a jacket?
I'm 100% with Sadhguru in this one, the jacket part especially. Like, I know where I live it's pretty hot, and certain people have to dress like in a formal suit. I'm like, it's hot. Why are you wearing a jacket? It's just part of the, like, attire and outfit. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, sometimes they just hold it, like, hold it on or whatever, and don't usually wear it, but, there's some people who wear it. Because sometimes, the place that you go to is kind of cold, can be cold, so that jacket will help you stay warm, but outside is terrible.
I was meeting some important CEOs and I told them, see, in your board meetings, it's compulsory in a lot of companies, they must be jacketed and tied up. I said, a CEO means people expect he will do the most sensible things.
Wow, a lot of people laughed at that one.
No, we must understand, a large company means people have handed over their own money, their savings, their hard-earned savings to somebody and expect this guy to do the most sensible thing. But this guy wears thick jacket and a tie in 40 degrees temperature. I don't expect this guy to do sensible things. So, architecture is not just about the buildings, the very ways we sit and stand, the furniture, even our clothing is architecture in a way, all right? We may call it by different names, we may call it design, fashion, but it's essentially about shapes and forms. It's very, very important. It's time we bring it, because last 50 years or so, since 1950, since this IIT, we've been in a survival mode, desperately trying to somehow make our people survive in this country. Now we have come to a reasonable levels of well-being, though it's not touch every human being, at least large segments have come to reasonable things. This is the time that we need to look at more sophisticated way of existence. And it's not always expensive, it is not. We can create something very wonderful. You must come and see, we've created buildings. See that, right now I'm telling you the simplest thing. Right now this is a flat roof, I don't know what is this roof outside? A-frame, is it? It's A-frame. So right now, between the roof and the gravity, there is a fight. Going on or not? You may not see the fight, but it's happening. There is tension here. And one day, someday, who do you think will win? The structure or the gravity? Gravity will win. So we created structures which are standing up not because of the strength of the material, but simply because of the perfection of geometry. So it's the gravity which is holding it up, not gravity pulling it down. You must come and see these buildings, they're unique and fantastic. The one thing I'm very proud of that we created, the building is designed to last for at least a minimum of 3 to 5,000 years. Because there is no material, they're deteriorating. There's no steel, there is no cement, there's no concrete. It's just burnt brick. See, even if you go to Mohenjo-daro or Harappa or whatever the most ancient civilization, what is it that you find? Burnt clay is the only thing that survived. It's burnt brick and just lime, which is holding the thing up. It's not the strength of the material, it's the perfection of geometry. Unless it's seismologically sensitive area, so we put it on sand beds. So it takes small shocks. Suppose a very major earthquake which opened up the land happened, only then it'll come down, otherwise it'll not come down.
I guess my question for him with this is like, obviously it is based on location too, you know, you have to understand that, you know, if it's very cold winters, can it provide like a good buffer or shelter? Again, I don't know. If it's just bricks, I don't think so. You know, you need an insulating layer to keep the heat in and the cold out, and then the cold in and the heat out if it's like very hot. I don't know where it's built at, but I'm kind of curious. Does it have provide well insulation? Obviously, if it's pretty sealed in pretty well, that means air can't come in or out, but or hopefully it can, but not like at a bad degree. Obviously, you want airflow. Otherwise, if you have a fire inside, you will suffocate. There's an interesting what was it? There was this design I think I remember seeing some time ago, and some engineers in Silicon Valley copied it, which was, I think it was like a tunnel, kind of like a tunnel, and then like a kind of a shape, like a kind of a cone shape with a hole on top. And the super cool thing about it apparently is that it keeps the area cool because hot air rises and there's a suction of cold air having to replace that hot air that rises. And so there was a computer server room. I don't know if it's, I don't remember which one, whether it's Amazon or Google. I think they took that very similar design and it saves on electricity because they looked at the design and it was very I wouldn't say self-sufficient. I'm making up words here, but essentially it was a very efficient build on how to keep the area cool. I remember them saying that this is how they used refrigerators. Essentially, this was kind of like a refrigerator where heat rises and cool air comes in. So a server room was mimicked that area. It was mimicked like that, and they didn't have to run any fans in those server rooms, I believe. It's been a minute since I saw it. Hopefully it's not fake, but I would doubt it to be true because we obviously will know that hot air does rise, and whenever something is sucked out, something has to replace it to keep the what do you call it, the pressure the same. Otherwise it'll crumple, like a can in a deep sea.
Sadhguru, I have a follow-up on this. But I think in today's scenario, we have a standard set of codes which are developed by the most premier institutes, and it seems like nobody just wants to take the responsibility of the work that they are doing themselves. They just want to put it on the code. So if the building comes down, they just say that, I followed the code and it was not my fault, and they just don't take the responsibility of it.
See, they're trying to do everything by the thumb rule.
I mean, I kind of understand his perspective. Like, if you follow things by the rules, then you're kind of tied behind your hands are tied behind your back in a sense. Quote, it's a quote. Because if you don't follow the rules and it falls down, they say you fell down because you didn't follow the rules. But if it falls down, if it follows the rules, then the guy says, "There's nothing I could do. I had to follow the rules, otherwise I will get blamed for it." So it's kind of I don't know what the right saying is, double-edged sword or something like that, where if you break the rules and it does fall down, it's your fault because you didn't follow the rules. But if you follow the rules and it falls down, it's not your fault because you followed the rules. It's kind of like a lose-lose, I guess, in that scenario. But changes has to happen. Someone internally has to say, you know what, this is dumb. We need to make changes to this rules. But how is that done? That's freaking politics right there.
All right? If you want to do things by thumb rule, you don't need an engineer or an architect, you need a mestri. You call yourself an architect because you think beyond the standards, and what they say, this big member is needed, you get the geometry of it right and put this big member and still make it safe. That is where an architect is, otherwise a mestri will do it.
So Sadhguru, in the campus we can find a large number of couples who spend almost all their time together.
Okay.
Now the matter is, when they separate, at least one of the two people has to go through a time when they are completely alone. And at that time, because they don't have the person they had for the entire day, negative thoughts start to come inside their head. So the question a lot of us have to ask is, how can we be both happy and alone? Because in my understanding, these are not two words that go along with each other.
This kind of goes back to the lady's question in the middle there about negative thoughts. Sadhguru kind of already answered this, but not quite directly. Essentially, you have to be happy with this body. And essentially he means that even when you're alone. Actually, I think he might have said that in the quote. So it's almost asking roughly the same question, but just in a different context. But the answer is still the same. That you cannot derive your happiness externally, because you will be disappointed. It's not to say that everything will be disappointing externally, but you cannot depend on things externally to always make you happy. You must depend on yourself. Now, having a loved one, that's great. They will make you happy for sure, but at the same time, they can disappoint you. But you cannot you cannot depend on them for your happiness. It's really weird to say that, but you can. How do I say? Trying to make this kind of like happy. You cannot depend on them on your happiness, but you do want them to make you happy. The same works in reverse, that you can always make your significant other happy, but you always want to. You always want them to be happy because you did something, but it's not always guaranteed. So that's the quote I'm trying to say is the fact that obviously your significant other wants to make you happy, but they can't always do it. So whenever they can't always do it, to you that's going to be a bit of a disappointment. So you can't always depend on them to make you happy. So you must be able to be happy with yourself.
Oh, it's a popular question. Then you must find somebody out of the world. That means she's not in this world, you're safe. See, well, we must understand this. In the nature of human development, there is a body. All of us have a body. We have a mind, we have emotions, we have energies. If you put your body as the leading edge of your life. If your body leads you, then the only thing you can think of is eating, sleeping, reproduction. You may avoid the reproduction, but copulation. Yes. No, I'm not saying this in any negative way. I'm saying, if body is the leading edge, by the time you're 14, you want to do something. Yes. Hello? But suppose your mind developed in a certain way, suddenly what everybody is excited about looking at a boy or a girl, your mind is excited about something else because your intellect has become the leading edge. Or if your emotions don't understand emotions as only for each other, emotion is beyond each other. You're capable of emotions all by yourself, that's what you're saying in a way, when you're alone, there are emotions. So emotion is not about somebody. Well, somebody else may stimulate a certain emotion, but you can sit here and create whatever emotion you want right now, isn't it? All by yourself. So emotion is not about somebody. Maybe you know emotion only as a reaction to something right now.
Yeah, I was going to say that. It seems like, according to him, emotion is a reaction to the external world, whatever the situation so happens to be, external, both external and internal, in terms of the mind. Because you can look right now. I'm like, I am by myself, and you could be perfectly fine and content. But then you look again, it's like, I'm by myself. And you could be sad and depressed. It's the exact same scenario. The only difference is, one of them, you have a girlfriend or significant other that's not there. You're like, oh, I'm alone. The other one, you don't have a girlfriend or significant other. You're like, I am perfectly content. So external factors does play a factor into it as well, but also what's in the mind and what you're thinking about at the current situation. So that's kind of what I'm understanding from what he's saying here is the fact that you alone can bring up emotions. Me, content right now. I'm by myself. I'm content. But or in the second part it says someone else can as a maybe emotion as only a reaction to something right now. Like right now, I'm alone. If I had a significant other, it's like, oh my gosh, I am I'm feeling alone or sadness.
But emotion, intelligence, body and energies are not about somebody. It is about this life. This is all the equipment we got. We have a body, we have a mind, we have emotions and we have energy to support that. Now, you must decide in your life which should be the leading edge. This is not about getting rid of the body. Body is there, it's very important. Without this platform, we cannot exist. But do you want this platform to be the leading edge? Right now, we are sitting on a platform. Should this one speak or I should speak? You must decide. Hello? You must decide. This should speak or I should speak? We are sitting on the platform and speaking, isn't it? Similarly, we are sitting on this platform right now as a life. Physical body is most important. If you don't keep it well, it will become the most important thing in your life. If ill health comes, you will see body is the most important thing. All the time, 24 hours, you'll only think of that. So, what should be leading edge in your life, you must decide. Once you made the decision, whether it's your intelligence or your body or your emotion or your life energies, if you have to look at it this way, your body can only speak this. It will talk about what to eat, how… sleeping, reproduction, this is all it can think about. It is not equipped to think about anything else. Your intellect can do so many things, but that also functions only from the limited data that you have gathered in your head. Right now, if you're thinking architecture, that's because information has gone in. Right now, you're thinking of that boy or that girl because that information has been recorded. Or you're thinking about money or position or fame or name because that data has gone into your system, isn't it? So, your intellect is only functioning from the limited data that you have gathered. So, it should not be the leading edge because then you will do only those limited things in your life. If you go by the body, you will do very limited things. If you go by the intellect, you will do next level of limited things. If you go by your emotion, then you may do something beautiful, but at the same time you may get tangled up in all kinds of things because emotion is not independent of the intellect. The way you think is the way you feel, isn't it? If I think you're just wonderful, then I have sweet emotions towards you.
Hmm.
If I think this guy is horrible, I have nasty emotions towards you, isn't it? So the way you think is the way you feel, it's just that emotions are little more sappier than the thought. Thought is agile, thought is dry, emotion is little juicy. They're not different. But your life energies, every moment of your life, no matter what the hell you did, what the hell you did not do, your life energies have been constantly working for your well-being, never worked against you till now, isn't it? So you must decide which should be the leading edge. All others will follow, all the four ingredients all of us have. But what should lead your life? This you must decide. If you want to be led towards a significant life, then your life energy should be the leading edge, others should follow. If body is the leading edge, then the first opportunity you get, you will get entangled with something. And of course, your emotion and your thought will come and play havoc with all that. Is it right or wrong? I'm not somebody who looks at these things in a moralistic way, but this is a time of your life when you must build yourself up. You are in a little bit of a hurry to live. When you're in a hurry to live, you will lack wisdom. And this will play out in so many different ways. It's like this, the mango farmers in India have a certain wisdom. Bengal also produces mangoes, right? If you plant a mango tree, I've been a mango farmer myself. If you plant a mango tree, within the first 12 months or 14 months, flowers will come. So we go about meticulously removing every flower on the tree, not allowing it to fruit. If you leave it, fruits will come. So up to 3 years or 4 years, a wise farmer, up to 4 years, he will make sure not a single fruit comes. You have to remove every single flower, otherwise suddenly one fruit will come. If one tree among, let's say you have 100, one tree came up with a fruit, within 3 years or 4 years' time, you will see that is one tree which will not yield in the future because it lived too early.
Okay, I'm gonna pause right there. That's I mean, interesting way of saying it. Like, I know, was it, there's a few sayings in the Western world, or at least in America, live fast, die fast, live hard, die hard, kind of things like that. It's not said very often, I don't think, but I kind of understand what he's talking about. I think everyone's trying to live so fast, trying to be rich really quick so they can retire so soon. Everyone's trying to get as much life as possible so quickly that they could end up, cutting it short. I don't know if it's a lot of people or not, but I know it's. I don't know if it's growing or not. It's not something I really thought of, honestly. I do pay attention to. I enjoy watching like a whole bunch of different questions and stuff on YouTube about when they ask the general population, especially in America. It's just interesting to see what people think. What is the atmosphere in America like? But it's kind of hard. When you look at the internet or YouTube for these things, you get a very specific point of view, and that specific point of view may be only isolated in that area, or maybe just in those few people that they interviewed. It's really hard to tell. But regardless, it does exist, even though those are some isolated point of views. But then when you start to see those point of views growing, it clearly it's have an effect. So those views may be isolated for now, but it's becoming popular due to the internet and everything like that. How is that related to living fast? Well, it's just more about the life, really. How people live their life, whether it's fast or slow, whether what political statements they're wanting to say, how they're wanting to change the world, how they have an outlook on life, on people. All these things are to me very interesting. Sometimes it's disappointing, but I am not upset about it. Just wishing people would, I don't know, do a little bit more research. But at the same time, some people are not willing to change their minds. Some people can't see the truth in front of them. It's, I mean, I wouldn't doubt it to be very hard, especially when your population is so big. I mean, America only has like 330 million, 340 million, somewhere around there population. It's, I think, the third or fourth populous country in the world, and we're already struggling, and we're not even. I know we're not number one or number two. I don't know where number three is. Maybe we're number three or number four. I'm not sure. And I could only imagine countries that are bigger. But mind you, of course, there's also that massive amount of space. And when you have massive amount of space with massive amount of people, you have so much diversity and differences of thoughts. Excuse me. The only thing I can really think about is just how the U.S. is, and I could only imagine it's potentially worse in larger countries. It's so difficult to manage, so difficult to have many people in the same boat. People in certain areas aren't going to be in the same boat. Kind of like you look at the U.S., where certain states always vote Republican or certain states always vote Democrat, and those states has never changed throughout the entirety of probably the entirety of history of the United States. Where am I going with this? It's just human life. Like I said, which is very fascinating. Again, I'm not going to be playing anymore. I'm cutting off right there. But to me, that's fascinating. It's very fascinating. Obviously, both sides see each other as being wrong. Again, U.S. here. Anyways, I think I rambled on a little bit too much there. So this is what I believe part 3. This is gonna be about 2 more parts, hopefully, and that's it. I don't want to drag it out too long. I think about 20-25 minutes for the next few ones, and I'll try to stay more quiet, which I think I did a decent job in this one. So, anyways, if you like my content, please consider subscribing, thumbs up, the thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next vid.